Look at yourself, a weak little iron rank beta cuck. You've been hit by 15 DIs in a row. You have been comboed by the same low 800 times. You are getting your cheeks spread and plowed. No consent. None. You are bad at Street Fighter. However, I am here to save you because I too was once an iron rank beta cuck, just like you guys. I was getting belt to arse by Make-A-Wish kids who picked up Ken 3 minutes ago.
Let's get retarded. Everybody, let's get retarded.
And it was bad. Now, I am only in Plat myself, except I think I am incredibly educated on what it takes to get this rank as a new player, because I got to Plat the scrubby way, playing Mai and spamming fans and distracting opponents with the sheer perfection of her colossal breasts. But I also got to Plat with Sagat, a much harder character to pilot. So I can see both ends of the spectrum when it comes to ranked. I also know that a lot of you guys probably watch pro players and listen to their advice on how to rank, and to be honest with you, I think that's just a bad idea for most games, because these guys don't actually know the struggle of being a noob, because they've been clapping folks for the last 15 years. So a lot of their advice can really just be summed up as be better without being super specific. In this video, I am going to give you the exact things you need to learn or do to achieve Plat, and it is genuinely super easy once you apply these things. Just to make one thing clear, the reason I'm making this video is because I don't want you guys on Tekken 8 no more, bro. Come over here, bro. Like, dudes were telling me the grass ain't greener. Fam, the grass is greener than Nickelodeon slime, fam. This is also a way for me to summarize for myself what I have learned. But enough yapping, let's get into this. So, this is going to sound kind of cringe, but I'm cringe. I just want to get this out of the way. Characters are not created equally. There are certain characters in this game that if you are able to understand how to play Street Fighter at a base level, you will automatically get to Platinum eventually, no matter how shit you are at the game. That is something that a lot of dudes will not tell you because, I don't know, it makes the game look bad. I don't know. But this is the case for every fighting game practically. There is always characters like this. Off the top of my head, E-Honda, nobody is going to punish that butt slam shit. Blanca, nobody is going to know what the hell you are doing. Kimberly, mix your opponent from full screen until they die. Your opponent will not know how to stop this. Ken, just click anything you want, bro. I don't know. You know, if you play a grappler, it's just a universal fighting game experience that new players cannot handle throws. But you guys get what I'm saying, so if you just want to cheese your way to Plat and are not interested in actually trying to improve your overall game, play one of these characters. But let's get into the actual tips now. Number 1. I think the first bit of advice that I'm going to give you is the single most important skill that you have to pick up early in this game. It is something so simple, yet so effective and so overlooked at just controlling the entire pace of the game. Kind of like how you string together 16 plus frame moves in Tekken 8 with no repercussions, but in the context of an actual fighting game with actual human players. This is learning to anti-air consistently. Now, anti-airing is not an easy skill, especially if you are new to fighting games or come from 3D fighters, especially if you come from 3D fighters, because jump as a mechanic exists, but it does absolutely nothing in most games. So players making this crossover generally find it pretty confusing at first, because you don't know how to apply or defend against jump-ins, period. However, forward jumps in this game, as far as I know, are all reactable. So an opponent just jumping into your face like a madman is not a thing in this game. There is more to approaching your opponent than just that. So you probably see why this is so important. If you can squash your opponent's noob approaches with anti-airs, you have an astronomical advantage over your opponent, because in these ranks, nobody can anti-air. This singular skill will probably get you to gold on its own, truly. The fact nobody anti-airs is something that people in these ranks will actively take advantage of as well. Players in this rank carve out playstyles where they literally just spam jump in your face and you sit there like an idiot because you cannot anti-air. If you don't learn this, you will bump into these type of players very often and it will be an auto loss for you every single time. So get into practice unless you want to be a punching bag for a kid who gets shoved into lockers and gets daily swirly swirlies. Luckily for you, it's very straightforward to learn how to anti-air in this game. It just requires reps. You can go into training mode and literally click anti-air practice, and the bot will be set to forward jump or neutral jump, and you have to react to the forward jump. Super basic stuff. However, like ranking up, in this game, anti-airs are also not built the same. If your character has a DP, you instantly have a much easier time of anti-airing than a character who doesn't, depending on how you look at it. DPs have a whole bunch of invincibility frames, so you can be super early or super late on your anti-air timing, you'll be fine. You really don't have to think about it too much. When you see your opponent jump at you, DP, bang. So it's incredibly consistent, although this move has a higher execution barrier than a more simple anti-air because of the motion input. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword to begin with. If you don't have a DP, every character has their own unique anti-airs. Just find what your character has and practice it. It will be harder for you to anti-air consistently, but literally learning this skill is simply reps, whichever way you put it. For me, when I first started practicing this, I would grind this out until I could land 10 anti-airs in a row and would try my best to not click anything on the neutral jumps to really hammer the muscle memory into my skull. And then I would just do this for 5 minutes before a rank session so you can keep this fresh in your mind, because for me at least, Street Fighter is a game where if I take a break from doing these inputs, I start missing everything. But anyways, anti-air equals good. Very good. Moving on. Number 2. This tip is honestly going to be for people who are new to fighting games or aren't like a 2D fighting game player. Well, I guess the first one was kind of like that. I don't know, but this was a really weird thing for me when I first started playing this game. In Street Fighter 6, you can stand block and crouch block. Absolute shocker, right? This is how Street Fighter revolutionized fighting games. Block. Most of you guys won't even really think about this too much, or what your neutral block should be, right? Because you're thinking, oh, I don't really need to think about blocking until a low comes, right? This is just incorrect in this game. Lows are, for the most part, considerably more threatening in this game. And this is something that can really take a while for you to figure out on your own. Well, at least it was for me, where I come from a game where practically every low is unsafe and none launches unless they're doing some heat bullshit or it's a stance mix-up or something goofy. Never in neutral. Comboing off a low is a thing that practically does not exist in Tekken, and if it does, it will be like Jin's Hell Sweep, where it's more for the wall carry than the actual damage. In Street Fighter, this is a pretty damn common thing, so having your neutral guard set to crouch block is just good general advice. There are no quote-unquote mids in Street Fighter, but there are moves that hit crouches. An overhead will hit a croucher, although as far as I know, all overheads are reactable in this game, unless with Drive Rush. And if your opponent does a jumping attack on your head, this will also hit crouches. But if you practice anti-airs, you see where I'm going with this. So crouch block is pretty good. There's also some more niche things that benefit from this as well. For example, if you play a character like Guile who does charge inputs to let off sonic booms. Crouching also charges these moves, but for the most part, you are saving yourself from taking way more damage from regular interactions simply by crouch blocking as a default. Of course, there's always going to be instances where it's worse to crouch block, but you as the player will need to assess those situations for yourself. This is just standard advice for what you should be doing most of the time. This will save you a lot of hassle, trust me. But it won't solve the hassle that I have to deal with on a regular basis, knowing that you are watching this video right now and you are not subscribed. If you are liking the video, please subscribe. I'm just a brokey British boy trying to be IRL JP. Please sub. I need to pull a bad bitch like mine. Alright, let's get back into this. Number 3. You guys need to react to drive impact. This tip, I think, was actually the most impactful in getting me to Plat, even if I wasn't doing it consistently. Realistically, you don't even need to react to these very often. You get 50% damage off literally reacting to a singular DI. Not reacting to these is throwing. I don't know what else to tell you. A big thing in this game's lower ranks is people who don't know how to play Street Fighter and can't open up their opponents become fairly reliant on drive impact as a way to cheese out damage, because it is kind of a cheap thing if you don't know how to counter it. A DI will absorb up to 2 hits and it will break on the 3rd, and your opponent will get a full combo which will potentially put you in the corner into death, right? This is bad. Losing a round to a YOLO DI will forever be bad, especially as it is completely avoidable. A DI, even on block, will also wall splat you from Wakanda. And like the anti-air practice, this is also incredibly straightforward to practice. You go into training mode and you click drive impact training. Mind blowing. Anyways, just do the drill, simple stuff. One thing to note is that you can hit a DI a couple of times and then DI back. Reacting to DIs can be super easy if you're hitting into them because you have more time to react, but reacting to this in neutral is pretty difficult at times. What I have found out for myself, although I'm pretty sure this is like common knowledge amongst most people who actually play the game, is that there is actually an incredibly obvious audio cue. When your opponent uses this. So I know this is going to sound insane, but I want you to do this drill blindfolded, or just close your eyes, you know. Or do your best impression of the Tekken 8 devs looking at patch notes. I want you to feel like one of those sick fucks that like being put into vacuum bags. I want all of your senses shut off except the ability to hear a drive impact, and I want you to practice. Trust me guys, it works. Reacting to DIs, super important, get this down. It's about as close to 3 wins as possible in these ranks. Number 4, please punish fireballs. People who play Street Fighter below Plat do not know how to zone. They will just spam fireballs, or they will be very predictable with their use of fireballs. I don't know how it was in any other Street Fighter, but in this one, depending on where your opponent is on the stage, can be very risky to go for a fireball. And you need to show your opponents exactly how risky these things are. You need to imagine yourself as an SAS soldier or a Navy SEAL. You have trained your whole life to pack up terrorists, and there is a Taliban right in front of you with an RPG. An RPG is a devastating tool when used correctly. However, this is a Taliban. He does not know how to use an RPG. They picked this dude up off a farm 5 minutes ago. When he fires, you weave that shit and sock that sweaty fuck right in his jaw. This is how you should view your opponents pre-Plat. If you think he's going to let that fireball off, he absolutely is. If you jump over a fireball and punish your opponent with a jumping heavy kick or punch or whatever your character does and punish your opponent, you can get one of your character's most damaging combos just for jumping. Punish these, bro. I know maneuvering around fireballs can be kind of hard at first, and against someone who knows what they're doing, not a Taliban, RPGs and fireballs are just good zoning tools. However, we are talking about low ranks who don't know what they're doing. Punishing fireballs in these ranks against most characters most of the time is the easiest shit in the world. Like, they take forever to recover. It's really free as fuck. Of course, jumping over fireballs isn't the only way to punish these things. Unfortunately, I do not have an analogy for this, because if you ever try to parry an RPG, you will end up doing your own Buggy the Clown impression with your body parts scattered around the map like a treasure hunt. But yeah, you can parry fireballs and get drive gauge back for free. So if you have an opponent who just wants to sit there and spam all day, thank you. Fireballs are also the easiest thing to drive impact in existence. If your opponent has shown that they are willing to just YOLO fireball without thought, with like this much spacing, they are madmen, and you must punish them brutally for being so stupid. And the final tip, or number 5, is understand how your opponent's corner pressure works. Corner pressure, like every fighting game, is super cringe. It might even be more cringe in Street Fighter 6 because of the strike throw mix-up. Being able to apply strong pressure in the corner will hand you 3 wins, especially if you are a character or your corner pressure requires your opponent to have like a specific approach to it, like Mai or a Ken or something. In these lower ranks, you should be able to just destroy your opponent in the corner a lot of times, even if you are like one of 2 characters in this game that doesn't have a throw loop. I can't give you character specific things, but I can give you the basis of how corner pressure would work. Firstly, you have your strike throw mix-up, obviously, and your opponent's options of escaping this are incredibly limited because your opponent cannot move backwards. Your throw will knock your opponent down for another strike throw mix-up. If your opponent tries to mash in this position, you can light punch, light kick, whatever into even more damage, into another strike throw mix-up. Of course, all of this is beaten by jumping, although this is beaten by clicking any move that squashes the jump into probably even more damage. If you have an opponent that just refuses to take hits and will hold throws all day and refuses to get out of the crouching position, you can drive rush into your overhead, which becomes unreactable when done with a drive rush into whatever the fuck you want. Very silly stuff. There is of course some other stuff your opponent can do, like a reversal, which is a kind of get off me tool, and of course if they click a move with invincibility, so like a super, or if they have an EXDP or something, these will be a lot of options. However, there is one last thing that you can do, and it's called a shimmy. Basically all you want to do is walk forward like you are going to do a strike throw mix up, and then you moonwalk back like your MJ. This will block any invincible move, which is likely very unsafe, and you will get a full combo, or you could potentially create a whiff, which will also give you a full combo. So at the very basic core of corner pressure, it's literally just strike throw mix up, shimmy. Easy. It's up to you guys to figure out your goofy ass setups and other nonsense, but the tip is figure out your character's corner pressure. It's broken, bro. But I think that's it. If you liked the video, remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. And until next time, guys. Boom, 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 boom.